Draz. It's Piledriver, the rock and wrestling radio show, Roddy.
Yeah, my kind of show, Piledriver. All right, man.
All right.
I'll answer anything you want to ask me.
All right, let's start from the beginning with this new book you got coming out, In the Pit with Piper.
Thank God. I thought you were going to start from the beginning of my life. I was going to say we need a couch and I need to send you $100.
Well, we can do therapy sessions.
In the Pit with Piper. You can get it in thepitwithpiper.com, signed. It's a book I wrote to actually try to save lives and change the industry of wrestling back to what it should be. My sport has the highest suicide rate of any sport. I talk about the sickness. My prototype is Vince McMahon Jr. It tells you stories in there that, I talked to Mick Foley. I was on Larry King, and I was talking, Foley was on, and Hogan and myself were on, and Larry King was there, and I mentioned the word union. Those guys started backing up like the cat from Pepe Le Pew, scratching the nails. They're on top. They wouldn't stick up for it for nothing. And so Mankind says to me, gee, Piper, usually the guys that don't make it are bitter. And I says to him, how long you been wrestling? 16 years, he says. I'm thinking to myself, they're on Wrestlemania 18. I started when it was 100 people in a garage. I wrestled a bear. I was 15 years old. No wonder you don't mind the conditions of the dressing room, because we've already fixed them for you. So, it's kind of, everybody's got a wrong perspective on what wrestling is and how it came about. And this book is going to, once the fans read this book, they'll never look at wrestling the same way.
Okay, Roddy, I'm going to say to you that you're not the only one, because on this program, Terry Funk himself, who was a great wrestler and did a lot of extreme wrestling, actually himself said, and he has spoken about this a number of times, you guys in the business now need to form a union. So you're not the only one screaming out there for this to happen.
Well, God bless you. I talked to Terry about a week ago. He's outranks me. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's a wonderful man, and him and I were talking the exact same thing, and I thank you so much for bringing it up. Another one is Jesse Ventura. I'm trying to get to the President of the United States to take hold, because, the government also supports this, what promoters do. They call it the Boxing and Wrestling Commission. Okay, wait a second now. If you ask anybody in the government if wrestling's phony, their answer would be yes. So why do we have a commission? If Mick Jagger comes into town, do we drug test Mick Jagger? No.
Right.
So if it's entertainment, why is the government taking taxes off us, making us all buy licenses? We have no privileges whatsoever. Wrestling has an entrance plan. It's like Roach Motel, but it don't got an exit plan. And the only way to exit is to die or set up the ring drinking wine. And I'm tired of seeing them die. Kerry Von Erich was one of my dearest friends. Rick Rude, Adrian Adonis, Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody was stabbed in San Juan and over a wrestling finish. And all the wrestlers on his side of the dressing room left all of a sudden, and this guy named the Masked Invader, who he was going to wrestle, came over, stabbed him, and he didn't die from a stab wound. He bled to death. So he just laid on a...
Hello? 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 All right, I guess when he calls back, we'll pick it up from Bruiser Brody. I hate when this shit happens. Roddy?
So was I too strong?
No, I don't know what happened. We lost the line.
They hate me.
No, we love you. No, let's pick it up from where you were talking about Bruiser Brody and Masked Invader, because I think that's a very good point.
Okay, sir. Here we go. Okay. 2, 3, 4. So, I have a lot of questions, and I answer them in the book. And, for you fans, you deserve to know the real truth. All the books I've read are pretty superficial. The Bruiser Brody incident in San Juan, Bruiser Brody was in San Juan, and whatever they were asking him to do in wrestling, he refused to do it. I was against his morals or whatever his reason was. That's kind of irrelevant. So all of a sudden, the dressing room, it's a baseball stadium in San Juan.
Right.
And it's just concrete, raw dressing rooms. All of a sudden, all the Puerto Rican wrestlers kind of slip out of the dressing room. Brody's on last. This guy named the Masked Invader comes over. Nobody really knows because there's two people. How bottom line is, the Masked Invader brought the knife. Brody got stabbed. Now, Brody did not die from the stab wound. He fell on the concrete, and he bled to death. Now, hang on. What does it take you, 3-4 minutes to bleed to death?
Probably.
And nobody came in that dressing room. So then I'm looking later, and I'm seeing this Masked Invader going to court, right? He's got his wrestling mask on. Going to court in San Juan for murder, and he gets off on self-defense.
Jeez. Hang
on, guys. Too strong. I got one for you, Chad, and I try to lighten it up a bit, but it's hard. In the book with Piper.com, I got and I want to give you this equation. Okay, I'm Vince McMahon Jr., and you're an up-and-coming wrestler. Are you ready?
Right.
All right. I'm going to give you $500,000 this year.
I'll take it.
All right. Here we go. And you're working in the first, second match. All of a sudden, I come up to you and I say, listen, man, you're going to be the main event in the next pay-per-view. Happy, happy, happy. You call mom, grandma, the dog, the chicken, the dad, everybody, because you're so proud. And you work out. It's 20 minutes before the event, okay?
Right.
And he comes up to you, and he says, listen now, kid, this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to lay down on your back. I got a 320-pound Samoan with a thong on called Rikishi, and I want him to sit on your face in front of everybody. Well, what do you say?
Well, I guess if you like the money, you take it.
Whoa.
You do it. Right?
He would have never even mentioned that to my generation. I'd say, yeah, he'll come down, I'll put my arm up, and I'll be walking around with a fudgicle for a week. Are you ribbing me? But he's talking, his own daughter, McMahon Jr., puts his own daughter in the ring and has this Rikishi rub his naked bum in the face of his own daughter. The whole arena's calling her slut, slut, slut. The son is slapping his mother on TV. Hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, Pat Patterson gets in, pulls down his pants. He's got a dirt mark in the back of his. I think they're catering. No disrespect to anybody. They're catering to a gay market.
You're not the only person I've heard say that.
Okay, two guys getting married on wrestling. I say they got this new thing. Take the F out. Get the F out. I agree. Get the F out and put the W back in for wrestling.
All right. So let's go back to. I want you to compare something with me, just for the old-time fans. Would you prefer NWA to the WWF anytime? Or was it a whole different generation, a different time, a different style?
It was a whole different generation, but the morals of the guys that were in the NWA were fairly strong. We have an inside code of morals. One of the rules is, for instance, like, Ric Flair, if I'm talking about Rick, because he got me in so much trouble. But if I'm doing an interview on Rick, I may say something. I'll make it up here to say. So, something like, why the Ric Flair dates two girls at the same time? That's the way when he falls asleep, they got someone to talk to.
Yeah.
But I take the wrestler out of the context of his family, and that way it's not personal.
Right.
And so, that was one, family is everything. And the fact that you would bring your daughter to the ring is so against my moral code. Vince McMahon Jr. is in the height of his own sickness, and I explain the sickness in the book. I can say it in one sentence. The amount of sickness in the wrestler is directly proportional to the amount of manipulation from the promoter, and they can and will kill you. I have a current example for it.
Okay, give that to us.
All right. There was a league called the XWF.
All right, we know it.
All right, so they asked me to come. I'm an old-timer. I say, you give me my money now up front. Boom. So I didn't have a problem, but they uprooted people from their homes. They sold their homes. They came to Tampa, I believe it was, and now they said, you got a year's contract. We're going to make this thing go. The people that were running it were not wrestling people. There was this guy there, and they were putting pressure on him. Get these house shows. Come on, go. But they weren't supplying him with material. And I was there, and the guy says to me, he says,
damn, man, I'm working as hard as I can, and they're going to give me a heart attack, just kind of jerking around. He's dead. And what happened was they came in one day, they put a one-sheeter down in front of everybody that was there and said, if you don't sign it, you don't get paid at all. All of you. If all of you sign it, I mean everyone, we will pay you 2 weeks, but the contract's over. The last guy to hold out, it took all day. The last guy to hold out, he didn't want to do it, but nobody would get their money if everybody didn't sign. His name was Mike Lima. He's dead. He died of a heart attack, and he left 4 little babies and a wife behind. This guy worked so hard. I think he was about 38. So they killed this man without touching him.
Jeez.
Oh, it's terrible, man.
Wow.
And somebody's got to stand up. And as I said on Larry King, Hogan wouldn't. Mankind. Let's take Mankind, for example, man. This is a guy, I got all the respect in the world for him. He pioneered this book situation. He comes 25 feet off a steel cage onto the ground, puts his one of his teeth through his nose. Okay, let's just think about this for a second. Did he get paid anything extra? No. Can he do it more than one time as an attraction to come back? No. So he's throwing 25 foot off the cage, puts his own tooth through his nose, for what?
Well, he did get a big payday to do that final pay-per-view at the end. I mean, that was
Yes,
probably
but
the payback
when
he
he
got.
actually did it, he would have got the same money that night if he did it or did not do it.
Right.
It was up to him to do it or not do it. He came up with it.
Okay. So when you say save lives, you want guys to be a little bit more careful with their bodies and maybe get themselves some protection in the long run.
Yes, sir.
Now, let
And
me ask you a
also-
question. You have a SAG card, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
Does that pay your bills if you get hurt in the ring?
Yes, sir. Medically, yes, sir, it does.
Okay, so you got lucky, and Funk got lucky, and I'm trying to think if anybody else was in the movie. Hogan, DDP, a couple of these other guys. But these other guys that are wrestling in, let's say, firehouses and independents.
They got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And they even, the promoters won't ever give you an honest count. Brother, I can come into I don't care how many people there are, I can come in, and by the time I walk, that's why I hate music. By the time I walk to the ring, I can tell you the house within $5,000. That's why I walk slow.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not trying to be a prima donna. I'm counting the house.
I got you. Now, let's rewind a little bit here. I want you to talk about the NWA. We touched on it real quick.
Sure.
Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. When you go back to those matches, when you first came on the scene, and you said Ric Flair got you in a lot of trouble over the years.
Oh, Lord.
How much gratitude you owe to those two guys?
Ric Flair, take him first. He outranks me. He's a class of class men. And when I was blackballed the third time, I had my first child. Ric Flair was a world champion, and he wanted to go to Santo Domingo and some out of the key weight. And he said, "Hey, Pipes, come along, watch my back." And he got me work when nobody would hire me. So I owe him a debt that I'll never be able to repay, other than respect him for the rest of his life and be his friend.
Right.
Ricky Steamboat is one jam-up, honest, moral, great wrestler. And if it wasn't for these guys, I'd be nothing, man. Even, God bless him, Frankie Williams. It takes a team, and that's what Hogan don't understand. If with Hogan, you want me to stick with the NWA? Lady?
No. I was going to bring up Hogan next because that some bitch owes you some stuff.
Hey, listen, we ought to be tag partners. We're on the same page, buddy.
I got you.
All right. Hogan, and all due respect to Hogan and what he's done, but the way it came about was Hogan was cotton balled. And if Hogan did not have a championship belt all the time and had to exist like the rest of us without all, and just kind of make it on your own talent instead of being shoved down everybody's throat, he wouldn't last 6 months.
Right.
And the thing is, one of the big points between Hogan and I is who started WrestleMania. And Hogan says, me and McMahon did. Well, listen, I got the proof. We had swore to settle the score. Cyndi Lauper saying at the end of her speech when she won the Female Vocalist of the Year, Roddy Piper, you're going to get yours. Geraldine Ferraro, running for vice president that year. Roddy Piper, you're not fit to wear a dress. Dr. Ruth Westheimer, don't don't pay any attention to him. He's just wearing that to get attention. Would somebody please take that lady and get her laid? She needs it bad.
That was great.
Take care of that lady so she gets. And all these people are saying they came to WrestleMania and War to Settle the Score to see me get my butt kicked, not to see Hogan flex his muscles.
Well, of course, for every heel, there has to be the face.
Well, I put in the book, I don't need a belt to draw money. I just need a great opponent.
Well, the heel is always the one that's going to draw people in the seats.
You have it in one.
That's right.
And Hogan and McMahon, I had a split with them when I did They Live. We got into a huge argument. Hogan and I were known as a franchise, and McMahon sent a message through one of my lawyers that tell Piper, Hogan and McMahon are the only ones left with true blue WWF blood. Hey, we're all part of the family. I don't want to be part of your family.
Yeah, but everybody from WrestleMania 1 should have that stripe.
Yes, sir. Everybody. Now, the War to Settle the Score that started WrestleMania 1 was the highest ratings on MTV at that time. I'm sure they must have beat them by now.
Yeah.
But that's the one where I kicked Cyndi Lauper in the head. I knocked out Mr. T, threw a cop around, busted up Lou Albano all in the same time. And so, okay, hang on. If I knocked out Mr. T, I kicked Cyndi Lauper, Dick Clark's over there, Liberace's with his Rockettes going, oh,
Yeah.
And Dick Clark says to me, literally, he says, please don't hurt me. Hey, Dick, you're not in the program, man. Get the fuck out. Get the heck out of the way. Excuse me. It's true. So, what then? That's a War to Settle the Score. So I knock out Mr. T. I kick Cyndi Lauper. We go into WrestleMania 1, and who's all the people? Well, one guy I knocked out, Mr. T. Us and his star power. Hogan, who I refused to take a dive for Hogan and Mr. T in War to Settle the Score, WrestleMania 1 and 2, for proper reasons, I believe. And so in kicking Cyndi Lauper, it got pretty hard to move around the streets of America. Knocking out Mr. T got pretty hard. And then what was WrestleMania all about? Well, I knocked out Mr. T. I've hit Hogan. Cyndi Lauper's there. I've kicked her. Muhammad Ali, I hip-tossed him away back when he was going to fight Inoki. So he had known me. He was going to be the special referee. And what were they all there for?
Yeah, they were there to see you get your ass kicked.
Exactly. And I got to tell you, brother, if you ever want to see somebody get their ass kicked, come see me, because when I do lose, I won't quit. I get beat up better than anybody.
Well, let me ask you a question. You are the greatest heel ever. I mean, you'll
well,
talk to
that's really
people that
nice
talk
of you,
about. Well, it's true. They talk. You can talk to people about the modern era. They'll talk Triple H.
Sure.
They'll talk when Stone Cold was heel.
Sure.
They'll talk about that stuff. But
Yes,
when you
sir.
think about it, in the history of the WWF, Roddy Piper goes down as the #1 nasty son of a bitch ever. And I got to tell you, that is
God
a
bless you,
testament
man.
to you. And how did you figure out, how am I going to be as nasty and as hateful and have people hate me, yet walk out of there with the great reputation you have? How'd you figure that out?
Well, sir, that was a lot of planning over a lot of years, and a lot of old-timers taught me a lot of things. I went, what had happened, McMahon Sr. hired me.
Right.
And he got a bunch of rebels. The world was supposed to be taken over by wrestling in '82 out of Atlanta. They had asked me to come in there on a covert operation.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestlers talking like that. And then that blew out because of a guy in Chicago. So Vince McMahon Sr. picked it up, and they brought all us rebels together, and that would work any place and didn't care. Schultz, Orndorff, Morocco, list goes on. And what was happening was there was so many guys, there would be like a 2-minute and 54-second interview with 3 guys. And I had this one time where Orndorff and Schultz closed shoulders, and I was behind them, and they left me 3 seconds. So I grabbed them by the shoulders, I jumped right over them, and I had a T-shirt. I said, Roddy Piper, Legend Killer, trying to get in. So I went to McMahon in a booth, in a bar in St. Louis. I said, listen, you give me a bow tie and a mic stand in 5 weeks. If I don't get over, I'm out of here. Because I figured this. All of these guys are getting on TV, and they're doing their best wrestling. Well, then why should people pay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a show on TV, and they call Piper's Pit, and I'm never going to wrestle on TV. That way they have a reason for me to pay to see me wrestle.
There you go.
And that's how it came about.
Well, we were saying now, in the modern era, we're going to pay-per-view a month now. We're spending $40. It looks just like the TV show.
It does.
We get it for free.
And exactly, and it's boring, man. It's not all of them. I'm not knocking the wrestlers, sir. I love the wrestlers. I got wrestling in my blood. I was 15 when I started. I was like an orphan wrestler. That guy, all the old-timers took me under their wing. But what I'm saying is kind of like, you know, if I was to go back to McMahon, the first thing I'd do, I'd go down to the apron and I'd rip the E off and say, "I'm back, man." You know, there's no E in me. You know, get the W back in. And the wrestlers of today, they don't know the real psychology and the real part of wrestling as we were taught as young guys. We had the heck beat out of us.
Well, yeah. Well, guys are getting beat up now, though, Roddy.
Yes, but beat up not from the standpoint of from another guy in the ring, beat up because of they're more gymnasts now.
No, I got you.
So yes, you're right, sir, and I give them all the respect. They're still getting injuries. So what I've done also. His father, Jason Sanderson, he won $66 million in Powerball. And one of the things I think I'll be most proud of my career is I now have, we call it the Healing Center, 44 acres in Vermont, for any of my frat brothers to come anytime, free of charge, no insurance or not, and you can go there and heal. And it's a center. We're going to announce it. I have Planet Hollywood, Times Square. They're blocking it off. Fire department, pipe band, New York is going to be there. Red carpet, Acclaim. I've also got Legends of Two wrestling game with Acclaim coming out, and we're going to announce it with the bishop there that we have now a place for boxers and wrestlers when they get lost in their head or whatever. They could come here free of charge and get straightened out, and that's something that's never been done in wrestling.
No, and that's a tribute to your heart and your dedication to the men that do this sport. And that's
God
a great
bless
thing.
You, man. Thank you.
I have a couple more questions if we can get them in.
Absolutely, anything you want.
Your microphone technique helped Hogan get a great microphone technique, and then of course. Now, with the emergence of The Rock becoming a major box office star because of microphone technique,
yes.
A lot of this separated wrestlers that were mainstream, sort of run-of-the-mill, the big guys that actually stepped out were the guys that were great on the microphone. And then guys like Ultimate Warrior, who wasn't really that good with the verboseness, really kind of fell away. How did you look at Muhammad Ali and say, wow, this is why this guy was so popular? Was not only because he was a great fighter, but the guy can talk. Mm-hmm. Did you figure that out in your routines as well?
No, I as I said, I got in the ring with Ali whenever it was when he fought Inoki just before a press conference in L.A.
Right.
The interview technique is, first of all, I was just handed the mic when I was about 17, 18, and they said, go. That's all they said. I had left home when I was 13. I had slept on the street till I was 15 when I started wrestling. I had a lot of stuff built up in me. I got a lot of baggage. And what had happened was I hated talking about myself. I was a very shy kid.
Right.
And all of a sudden I got the microphone, and I started talking about the other guy. And my inner rage just came out about the other guy, and before I knew it, I started calculating my interviews and started to really get educated on them. And I came up with a system of. There's a couple of things I'll share with you, man. I don't care anymore. You do everything in a rhythm, and you do everything in beats. When you want somebody to hear something, you stop.
Right.
Now I got your attention.
Gotcha.
Madison Square Garden, 8 o'clock, and I pick up the rhythm. There was a lot of subliminal sexual stuff. If I had a jacket on, I would undo the jacket and put it behind me while talking about something. And it really became very layered. Also, a lady named Ella Fitzgerald met one day. She said, "Kid, just give them a good beginning and a great ending, and they'll forgive a lot in between."
There you go.
And so then just from doing it, I must have done over 60,000 of them. You just kind of fell into the groove. Also, keep it contemporary, and don't, I'm going to rip your rib cage out of it. That ain't going to happen. keep it contemporary. Whatever's happening in the news, keep up to date and apply it to what you're doing.
It's a great way to go about these things because it is very timely.
Oh, yeah.
Another question I have: Hogan's last hurrah just ended. He probably got a lot of money for it.
Uh-huh.
Where were you in that scenario?
Okay. First thing he did is, like he has all his life, he ripped it off, the idea off from me. And I went to a little kind of a humorous story here. I had a cage match with Hogan some time ago called the no, it wasn't a cage match, it was a straight-up match. And I said, it's the match of the icons. And I won the match. And they printed up a T-shirt, Roddy Piper's the icon. The next week, Hogan had his music changed to I'm the real icon. Randy Savage put icon on his knuckles. I'm going, guys, it's just something I said in an interview.
Wow.
And it got so carried away, and the next thing I know, I see McMahon, the match of the icons. Well, I have the picture in the book. I was the first icon. But wait a second, guys. What we're doing is we're trying to feed our families. But that's the sickness. Why are you so caught up, Hogan, in me saying I'm the icon? If you're real secure about yourself and what you've done, what does it matter what Roddy Piper says if Roddy Piper isn't in the equation? Well, Hogan is always wondering what I'm doing. And he just picked that up and gave it to McMahon and followed suit. Where was I in that equation? I would not go back to Vince McMahon Jr. and wrestle for him because of what they're doing on TV. I have 4 kids, and I have morals. And Vince McMahon knows me, and I'd tell him no in a second for something like that. And he doesn't want people like me around because it reflects on the other wrestlers. It gives them courage also.
Well, I think a lot of guys maybe in the business, if you were to get their attention, there's a lot of leaders in the locker room, and I spoke to Undertaker here on this program, and he said that it's his locker room. I've spoken to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who has since left. It was his locker room. So there are guys in there, and with Terry Funk and a few guys that know you and know your work ethic and maybe have the voice of some of these younger men, they could get them to protect themselves. But nobody seems to be wanting to step out, and maybe you could influence some of these guys.
That's very much what I'm trying to do. And I'm doing a tour of the states, and I'm asking everybody in that town, that the local legends, whatever, come to the tour, come to where I am. Because not only can I tell you where the healing center is, I want to talk to them. What it is, promoters, scare tactics, and manipulation. Did I tell you the sickness equation in one sentence?
Yes, you did.
Yes, so then they're afraid because they'll get fired, boom, like that. I got blackballed the first time when I was 19. I distributed a newspaper I wrote secretly in the dressing rooms, and I got caught, and they blackballed me. And the problem is these guys are feeding families.
Right.
And they don't have any severance. They don't have anything else. And if they speak up like that, the way that the wrestlers have talked about that, everybody gets in a car and, drinks beer and talks big shot. All right, we're going tomorrow. And it's happened to me. There I am the next day at the office ready to go, and I'm looking around. Nobody's here. So it's like I do want to get to them, but I think that the only way I can help them is to help them without their help.
Right, I got you.
And so in the Healing Center, it's there, and I want to make the Cauliflower Alley Club the SAG of wrestling.
Well, I don't understand why AFTRA doesn't step in, because you are television performers.
Yes.
With SAG, you are screen actors and performers.
Yes.
And these are two very powerful unions, by the way, which I paid dues to as well. And it's
why aren't they there?
Yeah,
right?
Why aren't they there for these guys?
Well, there's this scam that's been going on for years that we're all independent contractors.
I got you.
Baloney.
Yeah.
They tell you where to be, when to be, what to do. It's full time, but the government allows this, and they will not come. We've asked SAG, and SAG will not come in. I don't know why. After SAG, I don't know why they won't come in. But my next step is to get on them, and the Cauliflower Alley Club likes to stay apolitical. Right. It's time to take a stand.
It is.
And I don't mind standing up and being the first guy. I've never been afraid of them. I know their tactics inside and out. This is my 35th year, man, and I've been taught the hard way. So I'm standing up, and I'm standing up for not only the wrestlers but for the fans. I don't think the fans really are digging what's going on in wrestling, and let's bring wrestling back before it dies.
This is the same dude that hit Jimmy Snuka with a coconut we're talking about.
No, kid. When did you get ordained, Piper? Please, I got big black wings. I'm sorry, man. That's what that sounded like, too.
I remember that day, man. Here comes this coconut. Whack!
Whoa, Jimmy, I tell you how that happened, man. I'm just sitting around at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, and Chief Jay Strongbow comes over to me. He goes, Rodney. He calls me Rodney. My name's Roderick. Rodney. He says, you got a coconut? Huh? You got a coconut? I'm in Allentown, Chief. Why would I have a coconut? Did you ever think of hitting somebody with, Chief, a coconut? Next thing I know, 3 hours later, there's a bag of pineapples, bananas, and about 5 or 6 coconuts. And it's handed to me, and I'm supposed to go on, like in an hour and do 3 Piper's Pits. Jimmy was the first one. And I'm looking at this produce, and like one of the most asked questions about the coconut is like, where did you get it? Hanks. What do you think? I went to Fiji? I got
Hanks
and so
grocery.
I just had the bag, and I was coming out, and poor Jimmy, man, and boom, and I started dropping the coconuts, and I heard them, boom, holy, and they're heavy, and it was a time, when steroids were rampant, and I was big, strong, and as aggressive as anybody could be, and I just, okay, and I just reared back, and that coconut exploded, boom, and they told me that Jimmy was in when he got to the dressing room, he was looking down for 15 minutes, sitting down, and nobody could talk to him. And they were trying to, and it hurt him for the rest of his life, man.
Oh, man.
And, at the time, it was very cutthroat, for everybody, but like you just said, and looking back at it, I'm kind of sorry I did that one, man.
Well,
that
was a great moment on television, though.
They asked me to kill Cyndi Lauper. They did. And, that's another story in the book. And
good. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, without you guys, wrestlers get within themselves and their egos and the promoters and stuff. But what they don't understand, without guys like you and the press, we're nothing. And because you are kind enough to say things like, hey, Terry Funk is standing up too, Rod, and The Undertaker, I'm just trying to help you. To be that sensitive and allow me to come on your show like this, I can't thank you enough, man. Because without you guys, we're nothing.
Well,
and I so much appreciate it.
Well, this radio show, we've had guys on, new guys and old guys, and I got to tell you, when I talk to you, it's a pleasure. I spoke to George the Animal Steele, and his life, he was a teacher, and then he was this animal in the ring, and it was so interesting to hear him talk about that. It was great to hear Killer Kowalski on here, and his collection of photographs, and the way he teaches young men and molds them into professional athletes.
Yeah.
We never get to see or hear these types of things. We only see the person on television. And that's we learn a lot from you guys in these types of candid interviews, and I think it's important.
Well, in this book, it's the complete truth. It's not a kiss and tell. The only guy I kiss and tell on is myself. However, I give you all the situations, and you'll really understand why I hate the common housefly and promoters.
I got you.
And so, please, inthepitwithpiper.com. I'm coming around America. I've also got a movie I'm starting in January that I'm really excited about.
That was Night Fever, right?
Night Fever, yes. Ethan Dettenmeyer. Janet Jackson.
Yeah, so who else is there? So it's Janet? You?
Janet Jackson, Christopher Walken, Emilio Estevez, Gary Busey, Coolio, myself. Once I got to Janet, I don't care who's in it.
So now this movie's coming out in January.
It's shooting in January, so it'll probably come out in the summer.
All right, so the book is November 4th, 2002, but you can get it now in thepitwithpiper.com.
That's the only place you can get her autographed.
Okay, now real quick, which movie is on TNT more? Terry Funk and Roadhouse or John Carpenter's They Live with Roddy Piper?
I got to give it up for Terry.
Yeah, that guy's on every other weekend.
God bless him.
He told me his checks are down like to $2.
Oh, yeah, like $1.50. Would you please pay us back the postage? But I would just say Terry. I love Terry to death. He outranks me. He's been an idol of mine, and we've been brothers of the road. And I would always take a back seat to Terry Funk any day, and proud to do so.
Hey, real quick, Beyond the Mat, did you see that documentary?
Sure did.
What were your feelings on Jake Roberts and his situation? Is your ranch that you're talking about and your healing center going to help guys like him?
That's exactly what it's for.
Okay.
And I know Jake Roberts like the inside of my back of my hand, rather. And this is a perfect example. He don't have an exit plan.
Right.
So he's just going to do drugs till he dies.
Oh, boy.
That's the only way he knows how to get out.
Well, there's some guys that have just recently got fired. One of them, Brian Christopher,
yes,
got fired. Road Dogg just recently got fired. Eddie Guerrero, whose family's been in the wrestling industry for a long time, just recently got over a problem. So there's a lot of guys out there, Roddy, that you're going to help out, and I think that's a great, great thing.
Well, I very much appreciate it, but the thing is, it's a responsibility of mine to do. I was handed the torch, so to speak, and it's my job in my twilight wrestling years to hand the torch back and make sure the business is as good or better as it was when it was handed to me. And so I owe it to these guys, and I'm proud to do it, man.
How are you since your traffic accident last year?
Ooh. Man, oh man, this guy ran me into a wall on purpose. 2 Suburbans hit me. It broke my right ankle, 4 ribs. 1 rib went into the liver, 4 inches of spleen broken in my back in 2 places. But I'm up. I had to cut the tour in half because of it. But, the shameful part's not getting knocked down. The shameful part's not getting up.
Well, what was it like? It sounds like some criminal activity here. Were they
the guy
road rage?
The guy was a wrestling fan, and he was arguing with me without me saying anything. We're coming up Highland, right where the 101 and Highland meet in L.A., and I guess he was trying to impress me because he says to me, he's ranting, and all of a sudden he says, "Do you want me to hit it?" And I thought he meant the gas. I've never heard any other expression about other than that. And I said, I don't give a damn what you do. Just get me home. And all of a sudden he just turned into the wall. Boom. Car scraped along there, bounced out. On my side, 2 Suburbans hit, and then we sheared a lamppost off.
Well, so the guy driving, you said, "You want me to hit it?" He meant hit the other car?
Well, I thought he meant hit the gas. But I guess he was trying to impress me like, "Hey, I'm rowdy too." And he ran right into the wall.
All right. What
it's
a
like,
crazy
"Hey,
guy.
you've convinced me. Let me out now."
Oh, my God.
And, I had a stalker for a year and a half on my family. The police wouldn't do anything. I finally went after him myself. He now has a lifetime stalking order against him. He was a 3-year felon and, following my family. So those are some of the things we got to deal with out of the ring that I talk about also.
Well, I'm looking forward to the book, Roddy. I appreciate you calling in on Piledriver.
Hey, thank you so much, sir, for your time. May you be a half an hour in heaven before the devil knows you're dead, kid.